Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Time with Rella podcast. I am very excited to, introduce our guest today because this is the second time we're going to be talking about love. So we have Ivy on today's episode.
Hi,
Ivy, please can you reintroduce yourself again?
I am Ivy, and I love to talk about love. Yes,
Yes, and it's almost Valentine's Day. Oh.
it is actually. This is very, very appropriate. So it's a great timing.
Do you know I've been thinking since this February started? I started this thing where I was posting on the page that what if Valentine's Day isn't only like just about romantic love? Yeah,
Mm.
at least why does it only? Because okay, I know 13th is Valentine's Day. I think that one is for girlfriends, right?
Yeah.
For friends, yeah. So anyway, so today we're also going to be talking about love. Um, Mainly, should we say self love? Or what do you think? Should we just talk about, maybe continuation from the last time we
Um,
talked?
I feel honestly like I feel like somehow like it's all intertwined. You know what I mean? Like we still somehow been
Mm-hmm.
touching these different topics, so we can just like start off and like see where we go. I guess.
Okay, first of all, are you still a single Pringle? Are you still part of us?
It's a complicated situation. That I would say
What do you say?
it's complicated.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I can relate, but I'll say single Pringle.
honestly, like to be fair, yes, same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I like there is somebody, but like it's I would say it's not official. So like technically, I am still single. Um,
Yeah. Like I said, I can read the same thing. I'm
mhm.
still very single. So just in case, maybe imaginary Prince
It's
Charming.
love, right?
Imagine.
For-
Well, but anyway, so from the last time we spoke, have you learned anything new about love?
Have I learned anything new? I would. I don't know if I would say learned anything new per se, but I think definitely learned to love myself better. That's for sure. I mean, there's still like
Okay,
there's always work to be done, always. But
true.
I I'm definitely in a better space where like I understand myself better too, and I would say like I've also been very appreciative of what it means to love. So,
Hmm.
up to, right? Because it's like I think I'm also just realizing how like I don't know how to like I feel like everybody knows that okay they're not perfect, but I feel like
True.
lately I've become more aware of my imperfections, and for me it's just like for people to see me in my entirety, like in my wholeness, and still choose to love me, and even like vice versa, right? And I think that's what makes love beautiful too, right? It's just like
Yeah.
being see people even in their imperfections, like with their flaws, and still choosing to love them anyways. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings and we can't be perfect. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Hmm. I'll say that I think I want to start with this. Yeah. First thing I learned is that I struggle.
Hmm.
I struggle not like in a terrible way, but yes, okay, yes, I've learned a lot, especially about myself. But I realized that I struggle even with how much I have been learning or I still keep learning. I struggle with the standards of love or relationship I grew up hearing about and right now
Hmm.
where I am. It's like these standards, yeah, kind of like sometimes clash with the healing and the things I've learned or the person I choose to become. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, let me explain. So there are certain things here that they tell you, oh, for example, if somebody likes you, the person should behave this, to do this and do that, yeah.
Hmm.
But then My whole person is about treating people as human beings.
Yeah.
Like you said, people are not perfect, and it's ridiculous to put them on like ridiculous standards and stuff like that. So I
Mm,
find myself here, regardless of how much I have learned, sometimes I have to snap myself out of certain things. Like
mm,
I remember when I did an episode with one of my friends recently. We lost most of the audio, sadly. But I did an episode with one of my friends recently, yeah. And we were talking about how adulting, yeah, as adults, I'm so tired for
that's so
you to be able, yeah, for you to place a standard on, okay, because I like Ivy, I must talk to Ivy six
every.
times in a day.
Mm,
Don't you have work to do?
okay. So that's valid.
Like, mm?
No, I said that's valid. I think.
Yeah,
I think
I struggle.
no,
Mm?
that's fair. I also think like it kind of depends on the two people in that context,
True.
whether it be a friendship or relationship, right? Just because like
Yes,
like they're
that's
friends that you
true.
talk to just as much, or like you know what I mean. But they're friends where you don't necessarily need to talk constantly to have
Yeah.
that, you know.
But I'm even saying that I'm not saying that people don't shouldn't communicate. No, it should like that's it. How are you supposed to build a relationship? Do you get it? But then
Mm,
when we start to maybe put everybody in a box, that
mm,
if he's not calling you or if she's not calling you 20 times in a day, it means
mm,
she doesn't like you.
mhm.
Or if she's a little bit busy, yeah, it means she doesn't like you. It's that's why I said sometimes, like I have to shift myself. Like, why am I thinking like this? Like, yo, even me, I'm busy.
And I think it can also be so hard, especially with how I don't want to use the word toxic, but for lack of a word, how social media has become. I think it can also be very hard to like not look at your relationships in your life through the lens of social media, right? Through what people would have to say, like their opinions, right? Because people always have this opinion
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to be. Whereas it's like it's you and this person in this friendship, in this relationship, whatever it is. And people need to
True.
figure out what works for both of you instead of like
Exactly.
of how this is going to be perceived or what it's supposed to be like. I think these are like rules that people just make up, right? It's like you get to decide what kind of friendship
Mm-hmm.
relationship that you want as long as it's healthy. At the same time,
And
I
what
think
works for you?
the learning to meet people halfway, right? Like
True.
you might necessarily not be the kind of person who wants to talk often, but you're somebody who appreciates that communication. So I think meeting each other in the
Mm-hmm.
middle, where it's like, okay, like I'm not going to expect you to talk to me or call me 20 times a day because that's just not who you
Yes.
are. But at the same time, you know, I'm somebody who appreciates this communication. So like, I think just making room. Actually, I would say that's something I have learned about love recently. It's just I think a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
unwilling to make room for who the other person is, and it creates a lot of
True.
tension sometimes. So I think it's
And
important.
instead, they are trying to like, or they are just pushing the idea of what
Mm,
they think a boyfriend or a girlfriend should be instead of
exactly.
actually knowing the person. That makes sense.
For real. And I feel like that's something I also had to kind of learn because I feel like before I was that kind of person that was very, I would say clingy, for lack of a better word, or at least I can see that could be perceived as clinginess, just because, um, like for instance, now, talking to somebody who is very, they appreciate their space, right? And I feel like before I was the kind of person who was like, what do you mean like you're sad or like you don't feel good right now so you kind of want to be alone, like okay, you want to be
Mm,
alone, be the exception, like you should still want to be around me. But I've reached a point where it's just like, you know what, sometimes I too be feeling shitty and I want to be left alone.
true.
I too want to be left alone, so it's just like, okay, it's like again back to like the kind of standard of love that you grow up with, or your little standard of love that we tend to grow up with, where we feel like, you know what, we our partners or our friends, because of how intense the friendship or relationship is, we often think that okay, like I should be the exception to the rule. Like yes, you're in a bad mood, but
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't apply to that shouldn't affect you wanting to be around me. But it's like that's not really realistic.
Well,
But
yeah, true.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's realistic too. Because sometimes I might be feeling terrible and I just don't want to talk to anybody. I want
Mm-hmm.
to sit with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I feel like even connecting with somebody, yeah, made me kind of like learn about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say clingy per se, but I will say that maybe due to experiences from the past,
Mm-hmm.
it could bring up some response or like some emotional habits that maybe I had kept long time, whereby maybe I need to act a certain way just so to avoid what happens. But
Mm-hmm.
then that's not really reality. That's bringing something that happened from the past to the present. And I
Yeah.
find myself constantly, because I mean, one thing I said was that I actually want to heal from all of this. I don't want to keep carrying those baggages here.
Yeah.
So one thing I kept doing was kind of questioning maybe certain things that will come up
Mm-hmm.
and actually remind myself that, yo, this is not the same situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
If maybe I had been with people that are unreliable and they
Mm-hmm.
talk too much and there's no action, I had to tell myself that no, this person is not like that. They actually do what they say. If they are
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it, they won't say it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah. So I feel like
Learning to trust
you
you.
yeah, learning to trust myself more self.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was like, learning to, you know what, because sometimes when maybe we experience a bad situation,
Mm-hmm.
I know people say we tend not to trust people, but I don't think that is the full thing. I
Mm.
think we tend not to trust ourselves and our decision making. We start to
That's
doubt that, yeah, like future things. We start to doubt that, oh, if I made this mistake before,
mm-hmm.
can I really trust myself? But I think for me, it's been learning to trust myself that, you know what, I saw certain things in this person that maybe I can trust. And it's even by understanding myself, the way
Yeah.
I am as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to remind myself that, yo, this is not the same situation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is different. We are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's been for me.
Yeah. No,
Peeling out layers.
I completely
Mhm.
agree with you too, and I find it so interesting how like we can only learn ourselves the more we form connections. Like the more
Yes.
connections we form people, the more we get to understand ourselves better, understand the kind of
I
people.
think this is, yeah, I think this is when people say that healing doesn't only happen by isolation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
impossible,
You
really.
see, yep. You see all those healing you've been doing on your own. When
Mm-hmm.
you now finally say, okay, I want to date. Oh,
Exactly. Exactly. You're like, whoa.
wow.
Oh, oh,
I didn't know this was still here.
oh, no,
That
it's so
kind of,
easy. And I think sometimes it's hard to even see places that you need to heal until you
yeah.
in a connection with somebody. It's like, yeah.
Okay. So apart from maybe learning about yourself, what has been your favorite thing connecting with somebody?
My favorite, I think learning to just trust again,
Yeah.
I would say. Just because I
Hmm.
felt like with my previous relationship, it was very much like it felt like sunshine and roses until it didn't. And it's
Hmm.
very much like I was deceived because this was somebody who like again sunshine and roses, like it felt great. It felt like person was like the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. I'm now connecting with somebody again and realizing for a while, I just my brain was programmed to like always see the worst in this person I'm talking to right now. it was I didn't even realize that I was doing it up until much later, right? Which again, going back
Mm.
to like things that you don't even realize that you need to heal from. And I feel like it could also be very frustrating being labeled as the villain in your relationship with somebody, right? Because someone just like constantly sees the worst in you. So I think also just like learning to believe the best of people has also been something I've really been happy to learn, because it's also something I've also applied in my friendships as well. Where it's like if something happens, I try not to like not immediately think of like the worst case scenario. Right? It's like more of learning to give people the benefit of the doubt, and also expecting that from my friendships, from other people to even in relation to me, where it's like if you as my friend is just going to assume this worst thing about me, I just feel like it starts to make me, it makes me question our dynamic. It makes me question our connection, because why are you assuming the worst, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think it's even something we mentioned the last time, yeah. Where I said I read something about when Brené Brown was explaining trust, yeah. And what you mentioned is generous assumption. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what kind of friendship or relationship do you have if you keep having the worst assumption of somebody? And yeah, like you said, it's exhausting. And I think I even had that kind of that kind of friendship with somebody and it ended very badly. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed this person kind of like express the worst from everybody. Maybe two people actually. I noticed like this person express the worst from everybody and it made me not trust that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, if you are expecting the worst from people you don't even know, what about me?
You know?
And it played out and it ends up that way.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up that way. Like they're expecting the, and it's exhausting. It's like you have to keep proving that you have good intentions
Yeah.
or you're not a bad person. That's an exhausting place to be. And
Yes.
I feel you. I feel you. And it can be exhausting if maybe it's on the other end, like maybe as we girls now we've experienced really toxic people and then the next guy you meet, yeah, you keep expecting the bad things that the other
Mm-hmm.
person did to them. I think it's going to get really exhausting to for them to keep trying to prove that they are
Mm-hmm.
not the other person. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. For me, I think my favorite thing about connecting with somebody is it makes me um it makes me open to life.
Mm.
Like I'm open. I remember at the beginning of even trying to connect with somebody, I was triggered. I almost ran away. I was like, I was, I'm like fear gripped to me. Like I didn't even know that I was that closed off.
Mm.
And I had to start telling myself, nah. I said I wanted a life where it's peaceful, yeah, where I'm open to things, I'm open to experiences.
Mm.
Maybe this is time for me to learn something about myself
Mm.
that maybe I'd like to heal or something. And ever since I did that, I've been just been learning basically. Sometimes I'll get so triggered, I won't say anything to them,
Mm.
but I realize that it is a situation where I need to sit with myself
Yes.
because this person is who they are, I am who I am, basically.
Mm.
And I don't think they need to compromise who they are
Mm.
to fit into my ideas. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it made me open to learning about how somebody else functions.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, it doesn't. Some things will not make sense to me, but
Yes.
it's kind of like interesting seeing that it makes sense to you. Same
Yes.
way something does not make sense to you, and
Mhm.
then this like you're open to okay, this makes sense to this girl. I wonder what it like is intriguing. I'd
Mhm.
like to understand that, and that's for me being open, and I'm adjusting. thing. It made me like once I decided that that first time that you know what, maybe I am actually closed off and I need to open. And ever since that, I've been opening.
That's
Eh,
true. Like,
yeah,
and I think again, like there's something so beautiful about like um discovering who you are at your core, like peeling layers to who you are as a person and just understanding yourself better too, right? And um I think also just like appreciate like navigating relationships or connections with people from a place of curiosity is something that has also I find very helpful as well. Right? It's like being curious about why I act the way that I act, being curious about why they act the way that they act, right? Because um, without if we're not curious, we're not going to learn, and it's easy to be defensive and it's easy to like assume the worst of people if you're not approaching things from a curiosity perspective, not even just with people but also with yourself. So like just learning to like even question why do I feel the way I feel right now, or like um why did I act the way that I acted, right? It's like I'm not even in a way to like gaslight myself or anything, but just more so from a place of curiosity, like wanting to understand my feelings, my emotions.
yeah, to understand. I feel you. That makes sense. And I think I even remember something, how like um the whole experience, yeah, kind of like it's like a learning thing. And one thing I realized with myself that I always used to avoid certain questions
Mm-hmm.
and uncomfortable conversations or having conflict. But because I think some people say that for some people, yeah, when you have fights or conflicts or disagreement, for some people they think it's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, everything is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know maybe it can be maybe traced back to how we grew up on stuff, yeah.
Sure.
But I found out that I like the uncomfortable conversations. Why? Because I feel that is how you get to make space for each other. And if you can't have uncomfortable conversations, I feel it's because you don't trust that person's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you maybe go into the people pleasing mode where you're just like, okay, yes, I agree. But then you're not saying no, I don't like this, you get, or this doesn't work for me. But I noticed that I started to value more of I want to talk this out. I want
Mm-hmm.
us to get to the root of this. I want us to keep like talking. And there was a day that you see, so you think, to me, I find it like this is just a learning experience. I
Sure.
learned not to have certain conversations in the heat of the moment and over the phone because
Mm-hmm.
certain things will get lost.
Insurance. Sure.
Yes, you may just read 100 meanings into things
Mm-hmm.
that maybe it means something else to somebody, and then it means something else to you. And I really like that. I'm open to the fact that, you know what, I can tell you that when you say this is what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Am I hearing right? Just
Mm-hmm.
so we're clear. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I find it very interesting.
No, that's. I was gonna say like I'm not even going to lie. Like I tend
Hmm.
to be very. What's the word that I use? I tend to have that fear. When there is like a disagreement or I set a boundary or I express something I don't like, I tend to have that a little bit of fear that okay, this is going to change the dynamic of my relationship with this person, or it's
Me
going to
too.
be the end of it. Like I feel like that's not something I can fight anymore. But I've learned to be calm, and just like calm myself down. It's like, okay, I know that I can't help but have this thought process, but I also have to learn to like relax. Like disagreements don't be the end of the world. And also like it's not even necessarily something I express. Like even though I would feel that way, I wouldn't feel that I wouldn't like tell you that, oh, I feel like this is going to mean the end or anything, right? So
Mm.
but yeah.
That's true. I won't lie, like I used to be so scared. And it's like it's not because like you don't really want to stay what you want, but you know when maybe you don't want it to end,
Mm-hmm.
or you are hoping that maybe you're both on the same page
Yeah.
where you are allowed to disagree. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I think it goes back to maybe past experiences. Maybe a fight meant something devastating happening.
Mm.
So that's maybe where the fear is coming from. And yes, one thing I've learned to appreciate is time.
Yes.
Oof, I am the most impatient person. I don't know. Is it? Do you deal with? Should I say it's a Nigerian thing?
Mm.
Is that,
In
is
what
that
sense?
in Nigeria? The impatient, the not being patient.
In what sense? Because I feel like yeah.
Like, okay, I would die of anxiety if you told me, or not die, maybe before,
Mm-hmm.
if Ivy just told me, Cindy, we need to talk.
Mm. Oh yeah, I don't
I'm
like.
like,
I
what?
do like. I don't necessarily think it's in Nigeria because I have met people who are very like official. Okay,
Okay. But even
or
me, like, it's not even just even that I want us to talk about it right now. That's what I'm saying. I've gotten more, a little bit more patient,
Mhm.
whereby I know, okay, having this conversation now is not going to benefit anybody. We
Sure.
can wait.
I feel like
Yeah.
I do very this. I would like to talk about just because like I would still be anxious. Like I'm I get anxious about too many things. Like sometimes I think of things, just drop situations from my head and I start getting anxious about it, which is ridiculous. But like I feel like for me, I would want to know what the conversation is about. Like even if you don't tell me, even if we don't have to
Yeah.
have
Give me hints.
a meeting, just let me know. Okay, I would like us to talk about this later instead of oh we need to talk.
Yeah.
Like come on. Yeah. Mm,
But yeah,
so,
I think I've learned to appreciate time, yeah.
mm,
Whereby let's, even as okay, we are saying that okay, there's somebody, but I'm single.
mm,
I don't want to rush into anything.
mm,
And I'm not even talking about the sex. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the commitment,
yeah.
whereby for us to work, yeah,
Mm,
I think I want is a very important thing for me. Yeah.
mm,
I don't want anyone to maybe want to be with me because they think they are running out of time. You know,
mm,
that I know that's like a thing for, or like should I say a more common thing for maybe that is associated with women,
mm.
whereby a lot of women feel they're running out of time and need to get married. So they're not really being with you because they want to. That's a
Yeah,
need. And
much
for me,
time
hmm?
is too much time.
Honestly, and it's not even that I feel, and I used to have this fear whereby I think I'll be forgotten. I know that is a childhood wound, yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that comes from even my growing up. Mm, this is just like a personal experience. My mom wasn't really at home, but she was at home, but she always used to travel. So there was a time she really wanted me to go into boarding school. And I understood that going into boarding school meant they will leave me there, like I'll be forgotten because
Mm,
of my primary school experience. My parents are the ones that, okay, they have PTAs, they never come and stuff like that.
mm,
So imagine me in boarding school, I'll be forgotten there. And that was like an anxious feeling I had.
yeah.
And I went there, and that happened before I had to run away from school. Honestly, sorry. So that was like a feeling I had that if I give too much time, they might forget me and all of that. So I just had to start coming back to myself that you're not forgettable. Yeah, I know maybe certain things may have happened in the as you were growing up and all, but that's not the same. This is different. I know. I think this is when people say even your childhood wounds, yeah, come to play in your adult relationships if you're not aware of them. So
No,
I
true.
think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's one thing because I listen to a lot of like podcasts with like therapists and
Mm-hmm.
people who are experienced in talking about relationships and how to build better relationships. And one of the things I often hear is how like when you're with somebody, not just like you're not just dating them, you're dating their entire like childhood and up
True.
because all of
Mm-hmm.
that plays a factor into who we are today, right? And if we're not going back, revisiting our going back to our origins, there's only so much of ourselves we can offer in a relationship in the best of ways.
Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing is maybe meeting, even if like looking at people generally, yeah. My favorite thing is meeting people that are constantly learning about themselves. I'm not
Mhm.
even going to say working on themselves, but I
Mhm.
think when people learn about themselves, they get to understand and then they know how to navigate, even if it's not romantic relationship, platonic relationships with people.
Even like be in every context too, even like in
Mm-hmm.
great settings, like you learn how to navigate yourself even in a work setting and no matter
True.
kind of like setting that you're involved in, right? So I think it's very important. Like the more you know yourself, the happier you'll be. My own personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even just going back to what you said about learning to appreciate time too. Also, just realizing how like because I recently because here when you're about to get your driver's license, you take your written test, and then
Okay.
I think after a year after you take your road test, and then after you get that first license, usually you would
Mm-hmm.
after 2 years you would have to take the exam to get a higher, so a more advanced driver's license. But now they've changed it because a lot of people don't care because there's no much benefit to that upgraded one. So now after 2 years, if your record is clean, they just send you an updated license, or they tell you, okay, you're eligible. Anyways, the point of this story is that when I first took my written test, I failed that shit like 4 times. And
Whoa.
I remember crying so much. After
Mm-hmm.
that, to a year after, I got into a car accident. My parents traveled. I took their car out.
Oh.
Got into like it was terrible. Like I was in the middle of the road crying. And then I recently got the mail that I have gotten an upgraded version of my driver's license, and it's just so crazy because like in those moments when I failed that driver's test, like I didn't imagine seeing myself where I am right now. I didn't imagine that
Oh.
for 2 years now. I've had my license upgraded, and it's just like a lot of things that we're feeling in the moment. A lot of things in the moment. If you just give it time, a year from now, it will even matter half as much as it does in the moment. And it can be so hard to like in that moment be calm.
True.
But like time really just it gives perspective. It lets you
True.
realize that this thing that you think is the end of the world really isn't the end of the world. Like it will be okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think even this time, it makes me think about maybe a conflict. I would even say a conflict, something that happened with a friend. And when that thing happened, I just shut down. Like, I just kept quiet
Mm,
because it was like, when they say, your body kind of like remembers
mm,
first before you, maybe your mind might
mm,
connect the dots, sort of.
mm,
That's how I felt. I just felt the need to just be quiet because I didn't even know what I was experiencing. And I've just been quiet, basically. And I've just been understanding why I felt that way
yeah.
and why maybe things needed to change.
Mm,
And it's maybe some people will see this time as okay, it means the end of the relationship, but not really. I think sometimes space is needed
I
to
agree.
really understand. Because
Mm,
for me, I really don't like pressure. I
mm,
don't. And I notice I don't function well when I'm like put under a certain level of pressure. I
yeah.
won't think clearly, but allowing myself go through the whole process of why did this thing piss me off so much or annoy me or
Mm,
even challenge my ego
mm,
has made me understand why better.
yeah.
And if they were to ask me why now, I could give you like what makes sense to me compared to maybe in that moment. That
Yeah.
moment I might have just responded out of annoyance, which was not like my best answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's made me appreciate time. And you see, even as I say appreciate time, I honestly had to keep reminding myself that you know what, I'm not forgettable. Because that's one childhood wound I had always had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to take time.
True.
Even if you're in a relationship too, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's okay to take, especially when there's conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And I think time is just to process it and
Mm-hmm.
to really see
Mm-hmm.
where, like, how I feel about this. Is this something I want to
No, I
commit
agree. I
to?
agree. I think
Mhm.
even sometimes when you step away from your situation, it lets you like
Good.
look at it differently, right? And
Yeah,
again,
look, like you see it
experiences
clearly.
grow as people, we change as people, and over
Mm,
time, I think we are more understanding of people's perspective, right? So that's
true.
why people that are like, oh, like when something has ended, it can never, we can never rekindle that friendship or relationship.
That's so true.
I don't. It's never that
That's
simple.
50-50. Yeah.
I mean, exactly. It's
Yeah,
never that
it's never that simple.
times you take time away from things and you come back into things and you find that you've both grown as people. You're able to like navigate the same situation differently and in a better and a more healthy way too as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that we put too much. We tend to put ourselves in a box too much, and I honestly
Mm-hmm.
think is about. It largely has to do with how other people would perceive us. Honestly, I think learning to do whatever the fuck you want to do, as long as you're yourself, I think because
Mm-hmm.
there, like if you decide not to be friends with this person again and you fall out because you feel like your other friends, other people in your life will think that you're stupid or whatever, da, da, da. At the end of the day,
And you're not living for yourself.
you know what I mean? And you find that you rekindle that
Mm-hmm.
friendship, you're even happier now in that friendship than you guys ever were. So it's like at the end of the day, everybody will be alright. And I also feel like a lot of times, right, like there are things that might be going on in your life that somebody else will be like, oh, why are you still friends with this person? Why are you still with this person? And there are also things in their own friendships and relationships that you feel like you would not tolerate. So I feel like honestly,
True.
everybody should do like do
That's true.
whatever makes you happy.
And even to even add to what you're saying, there may be things that are going on in your own life that you really don't need an extra voice in it.
True.
That's something I learned. Yeah. That I think some situations may remind me of my childhood and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying all parts of my childhood were bad, no.
Yeah.
But you see where one thing I realized last year was I
Mm-hmm.
was playing small in certain things, in everything actually. And I don't like situations that make me feel small. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like it. When maybe I'm put in that position, I don't like it. And you know, when you grow up around maybe judgmental people, yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up around those people. And for a long time, I've been away from those kind of energies.
Mm-hmm.
So if I mix with people and they tend to project that, I don't think our relationship is going to be healthy
Mm-hmm.
because I will be scared to bring up things because I don't want you, it's like, I don't want you to pour certain energy on it. Or it's just, that's why I said maybe, you see, giving space to see, like, because some of you may, of the people involved may have grown,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, whereby, and they evolve. And
Yeah.
there's also a possibility that they don't evolve. And you always choose what you want to do at the end of the day.
No, true.
Yeah.
True. At the end of the day, especially because like I was even talking with my friend the other day, and we were just talking about the power of knowing the decision you made was your own.
True.
Because I feel like at the end of the day, like it's easier to have more regrets when you listen to people and go against your own voice versus
Mm-hmm.
listen to your voice. And even if it doesn't end up the way you wanted it to end, you listen to your voice. Like that was your choice to make at the end of the day, and you made that choice. So
Yeah.
you more
Because you're like, I stood on it. Like it's my decision. And you're
exactly.
responsible for the consequences. Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel you. So for What are your thoughts? Because I know a lot of people, yeah, like
Mm,
to say Valentine's Day, capitalism, all of that. But me, yeah,
mm,
I'll say I belong to rebellious thoughts, yeah, whereby on both sides, I think, okay, yes, capitalism, yes, I hear. But also, yes, it's also a celebration. And I
mm,
think my whole struggle with like, what if Valentine's Day wasn't more than like, wasn't just about romantic, is that I
mm,
would like a balance between not shitting on it, whereby you are looking down on it, and
mm,
also not putting pressure or trying to maybe meet a standard for what ideal Valentine's looks like. What do
mm.
you think?
Um, I feel like honestly, at the end of the day, everything's capitalism. First of all, like
Yep.
you know what I mean. Like, if you really want to get down to it, there's so many things in Belgium that is capitalism, and if
Mhm.
you want to make the argument about this Valentine's Day not being a thing, you can make an argument about this other thing not being a thing. Right? It's like just stay in your house. Don't participate in capitalism of any form beyond what
True.
you actually need to. So I feel like that's just let people enjoy things, right? Because
Yeah.
this.
Me, I feel like my problem is, yes, it's capitalism. We hear. And also, I don't think people should be pressuring themselves
Mm,
to do things for Valentine's Day. If you
mm,
can't afford it, you can't afford it. There are
mm,
simple things you get. Like you
mm.
don't have to be in a position where you feel like you're missing out on life
Yeah.
because do
Mm,
you get it? Because I feel like to me it's two sides of the same coin.
mm,
However we want to approach it. But I think it could be approached from a place of consciousness. If you want to
mm,
go out and enjoy yourself and you can afford it, do.
mm.
Because we no one's life is like forever. I don't know
Yeah,
whatever forever is. That's why I said it's also a day for celebration, whatever love you want to celebrate. And I
exactly.
feel that it can be met with more consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
more grace, even for people that participate or can't participate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way me, I kind of like
Like,
would hope people will approach it.
no, that's fair. I think the problem also comes when you you're trying to do more than you can afford. Really,
True.
do what is comfortable. You know what I mean? Like you don't. It doesn't have to be. And I think just even going back to like um how do I even put it? I feel like at the end of the day, like gestures of love are just thoughtfulness. You know what I mean?
Yes, and
You
all of us don't like the same thing.
know what I mean?
I won't respond the way I won't respond to flowers the way I will respond if you buy me tea. You
Exactly.
get
So it's about
different,
being
or you buy me a book.
it's about
Exactly.
and I think that in my that might also be the problem, right? I think people are just they're trying to do what everybody else is also doing. So a lot of people just
True.
want they want to do things for the sake of doing it, for the sake of saying they've done this big thing on Valentine's Day, right? It's like
Fear
if
of
you're not
missing out.
the person that you're with, um, do what is within your means, right? As long as it comes from the heart, as long as it's a thoughtful thing. I think honestly for me that's what really matters at the end of the day. Um yeah.
Me too. I agree with that.
But speaking of Valentine's, you have plans.
Not
Okay.
that. So, in my wildest dreams, I was planning that okay, maybe in with my imaginary community,
Mhm.
I wanted to host even like a just like a get together, like a picnic, where we
Yeah.
could actually have this kind of conversations. But that's not happening because I broke down and I'm like, this is redirection for me too, because some things have happened and it
Mhm.
has really shaped how I would like to approach maybe events
Mhm.
with this time with Rella thing.
Mhm.
But plans, none that I have planned yet because
Okay.
The economy is economy. I want to stay in my house.
Yeah. No, that is so
Anything
true.
comes up,
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
No, that's true. That's actually so real. 'Cause so real.
What of you? What are your plans?
I have various plans. I'm not sure what plans are yet, but there is plans.
Okay.
Yeah,
Me, if I could, I might even send cakes to my friends. I thought about doing that, but because I haven't been feeling well, I don't want to put pressure on myself.
that's
Because I
true.
started my baking business, so I was like, maybe that's even a time to send like tiny loaves to my friends anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not. This is not. This is not commitment
Yeah, I mean
because.
that's something I love to do. Too. Like again, this is why we're hustling. So I could love my
Yep.
friend her too, right?
Exactly. So we are rich enough to, what, bake this for you. I'm sending it.
Because truly,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, aside that, I do have a Valentine's brunch on Saturday, and
It's
then
nice.
Saturday after, so on the 15th, I also have a Valentine's movie night thing. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, with the Valentine's, definitely do have plans, which I'm looking forward to. Um, but yeah.
Mm. I think that is awesome. So, what what are you looking forward to with love this year?
Sorry,
Like, what are you looking forward to this year when it comes to love?
what am I looking forward to this year? Damn, that's I'm gonna have to think about that. What are you looking for?
Honestly, I think more connecting with myself. I really like everything I've been doing for
Mm-hmm,
the past 1 year. I
mm-hmm,
really like it because it's opened me up to things that I did not think that were there. Do you get it? And it's even made me love myself more.
mm-hmm.
Where even moments where I feel self doubt, I'm like, nah, like this. I'm a phenomenal person. So
Okay.
it's just my. I remind myself that have you met you? Why are you feeling that you're not enough or something like that? So I think maybe I'm open. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm open to maybe life's way of loving me and me loving myself and me
Mm-hmm,
loving people that I come across. I think so.
mm-hmm. Honestly, I
Mm.
would say the same. Like, I'm always happy to connect more with myself, learning more about myself. I recently even realized a toxic trait that I have.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We have to start working on that because I noticed like I tend to,
Mm-hmm.
um, so if you hurt me or you upset me or made me angry or whatever, and I'm trying to explain to you how you made me feel, and you're not validating my feelings, you're not understanding where I'm coming from, you're not, I just not that validation coming in.
Mm-hmm.
My brain just feels like the next best thing to do is to make you upset too, because you know what I
You
mean.
have to feel what I'm feeling.
Like, shit, if you can't validate me, then maybe you just know what I feel too. And yeah, that's something I realized. Okay, I need to start working on that. Right. Um, so I'm looking forward to doing better. I literally recently discovered this. Like I don't think it's been up to 2 weeks that I realized like it's a thing that I do. And like looking back, even in like some of my
Mm-hmm.
friendships and relationships, I've noticed as something that I have done in the past. So I'm happy that it's something that I've recognized, and it's something I'm also working on. I also see like I'm not going to lie, I talk to ChatGPT a lot, and it helps.
Ah, me
Genuinely,
and you. You're
especially
not. See, I'm telling
something
you, you're not
happens,
the only one.
something happens, and I'm struggling to understand your perspective. I just take it to
Good.
GPT because one thing I really really appreciate about ChatGPT is like ChatGPT never. I call her a she. She
Yeah,
never.
me too.
She never. Even if your actions might seem your actions will not be with other people, there's is always met to the level of, okay, I understand why you did this, but
Yes.
she also lets you see the other person's perspective. Why that person
Exactly. There's no bias in her. Like
exactly.
there's no bias. And I do it like when somebody does something to me and I can't really like when I was processing why I was angry, I
Mm-hmm,
went to tell because I couldn't understand why I got so angry
mm-hmm.
about something. And I went to I talked to ChatG. I'm serious. See, you're not the only one. I do it, and I like that it's able to break down how maybe something may have affected you, or
Mm-hmm,
maybe why something you said may upset somebody, or maybe a better way to phrase it, or
mm-hmm,
like it made me feel like I wasn't crazy when I was
yeah,
upset.
sure, sure.
Yeah, and yeah, it's able to, or she, like, because I call her she too. She's able to, and I like that she says Cinderella or she says Cindy. When, at the end of the statement, she's like, I trust she can handle this, Cinderella. I'm like, ooh, okay.
No,
I
but
feel like you're talking
it's
to
so
me.
she validates you where it's like even
Yes.
when even when it might be clear that you definitely handle the situation right, she also gives
Mm-hmm.
you so like it's like, oh, you are seeking to know better, be better, and that is like that's such a huge step in itself
Do you
to
know? Do you know
even that
something people were doing that I
mm,
didn't like? They were asking ChatGTP to roast them. Instead, I didn't do that. I said, "Tell me honestly, from everything you have been sharing, what you think about me."
oh god, I did
And
this too.
yeah, exactly. Like even moments that I'm feeling like bad or something, I say I
Mhm,
need like to remember something. I know I need to remind myself, like
mhm.
reassure me, and she does really good.
No,
She does
girl.
a good job. Yeah.
And I wish more people. I think that's what again, like as much as there's this like backlash for AI and everything, which I get it, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
with everything else in life, it has its
To be
advantage.
honest, yeah, the backlash on I will blame it on how it is being used.
Mm,
I'm just going to say that. How are you using it? I'm not like there are other things AI can do apart from the things people use it for.
so,
Me, because I write and sometimes I do mix spellings.
hmm,
She does a great job. Spell
yeah.
check for me. She spell check for me. I know.
I
But
think even just,
I can't afford therapy yet, yeah?
you know what I mean? I can't afford to
Yeah,
because my therapist.
exactly.
And of course, like there's certain things that like ChatGPT can only help you so much because the therapist you're talking to somebody who is also digging deeper,
hmm
who is also asking the right questions to make you think, right? But it's like in this moment for now, what can I do? I'm gonna talk to ChatGPT. That's also why I listen to a lot of like relationship podcasts as well. I feel like it also definitely helps me like build better like
Yes.
relationships in my
And
life.
even with, and to be honest here, I asked ChatGTP to ask me certain questions to
Mm-hmm.
help me understand maybe a situation or to get to the root of what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do sometimes, yeah.
And shout out to
Yep. The therapy we can afford.
I think people really, really underestimate how helpful ChatGPT can be in terms of like helping us
Yeah.
regulate things. Because it really
Yes.
comes handy. And I feel like a lot of people aren't. I don't know how to like. I feel like because a lot of times, like I find that when we want, to, like for instance, say we have this goal to be um to learn data analysis or whatever, like we actually
Mm-hmm.
do the work to learn those things, but we're not doing the work to grow emotionally.
Exactly.
It's
That's where a lot of people are failing.
a huge one. Like
Yep.
when people are like, oh, by this age, I want to be this and that. You're actually working to get to that place. You're actually working so like 5 years
They
from now.
work hard.
You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So your who you are as a person, your emotions, your inner world, it's not just going
You're
to.
not growing.
Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You also need to actively do the work to grow as a person, to learn how to regulate your emotions, to understand yourself better too. And that
And
comes from asking questions, being curious about
true.
yourself and curious about the connections you have.
And especially yourself, being curious about yourself. And I
Mm,
think that is where I would even say a red flag is for me
Mm,
if that person is not a reflective person. To be honest, I'll say this here. I went on a date one time, and my favorite thing about that person was the questions they asked.
mhm,
We didn't have any of those reoccurring questions people are. It was just like, when they ask you, oh, trying to understand things.
mhm.
That was what I appreciated about going
Yeah.
out with that person that day.
And I
They were
love
asking
curious.
to understand.
I
Hmm?
love I love people that are curious. Like it's
Yeah.
it's so one and it's so funny because before it's something that I used to hate about myself. There was a time in my life I hated about myself because a lot
I
of
don't
people
like people that can't take questions.
a lot of people tend to have like back then, like when I hated that part,
Mm.
it's because a lot of people would interpret it as me being nosy or
Yes, or you being challenged, like you're challenging them.
to somebody recently when I went back when I was in Nigeria and I was just
Mhm.
asking questions and they were like, now I'm interrogating them, right? So but it's just like I don't think people are used to having people be curious about them or being curious about
Yeah.
people and it's very I think that is very problematic. I'm not even going to lie.
One thing I appreciate now that you said this about going back home, when I
Mm,
told my dad that I wasn't religious, my dad asked me why. And then
mm,
he said, no, I'm not asking you why to question you. It's like
mm,
I'm asking you to understand because
mm,
I've never come across someone say that before.
mm.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think when you
Yeah,
even
I appreciate
approach things from that perspective, like it may make somebody feel safer to share, to talk.
exactly.
Mm. And it's
They
I would
want
say
to tell you more.
I genuinely don't think that I don't think men especially maybe because again like I relate with men more like in terms of like my romantic life has majorly been with men. I don't think
Mhm.
men are they understand what it means to like somebody. I
I
genuinely
think
don't.
they still need they still have a lot of work to do.
I feel like when you like people, I feel like it only makes sense for you to be curious about somebody that you like.
Exactly, exactly.
If you like
Like I
this,
want to know about you. That's what I'm
if you like
asking.
this, you'll be curious about. If you like the movie, you'll be curious about. Do you get what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
tend
like why did you like this movie? What makes it make sense to
for
you?
other aspect. You understand what it means to like things others, but when it comes to liking something, like how can you say you like me? You're not curious about me, and it's something that I started observing for the past like year or two
Me
now.
too. Do you see like what you're saying now is what I was even thinking about the other day. I'm
A lot of
like,
times when I talk
okay,
to men, I
most of
find
these people I had met before. Sorry, you were saying.
no, I was just going to say like most of the time when I talk interact with men, even like not even necessarily
Mhm.
not even just in a romantic sense, even like casually or in a friendship
They're not
aspect,
curious.
I find that I'm the one asking questions. They aren't
Yeah.
necessarily asking back. And
And
it's
what I
like
find very annoying is when they do you women. That's very poor. I don't know. When I hear you women, I understand that now me and this person can't even be friends
mhm, mhm,
because I will not say you men. Do you get? I
mhm,
would say that, okay, I want to know this person because me saying you women is like saying, oh, I already know women.
mhm,
You don't know me. Like I don't like you said, I think they struggle, they don't know what it means to like somebody.
mhm,
So if I'm asking you, oh Ivy, tell me about how you grew up and all of that, because
mhm.
I'm interested actually, I
Literally,
want to know. If I don't want to know, I'm not asking you.
literally, it's that simple. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Hmm. Hopefully. Let's pray for them.
For real,
But
like,
I don't know. I feel like some people are adjusting,
mhm,
yeah. And I hope the rest catch up. I hope they
mhm.
know what it means to like somebody. But I feel like they need to learn to like themselves first before they can understand. Mhm.
Also- But I feel like it also works like because what you just said even made me think of how people say, "Oh, like you can't love people if you don't love yourself," and all of that. But I don't
Hmm.
think that is also accurate. I think
I think it's still 50-50.
yes, because I feel like there are times that people love you so much and it makes you learn to love yourself. It
True.
makes
That's
you love you.
true.
It makes you learn to understand who you are better as a person. So
But
I
I'm
don't
going to put this disclaimer. This is not for everybody. This
know,
is
of
not
course.
for everybody. There are some people that no
Of
matter how much you love them,
true, of
you
course, I
cannot.
would not just sit down and wait for you to love you,
Hmm.
so you love yourself. Like, it's important. Like, it's a very, I think our
Because to
connection
be honest,
with each other.
hmm, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
I said to be honest, because if maybe I liked you that way, yeah, and or no, you liked me so much,
you.
I would get curious to why you like me that much, and that might make me like myself. But that's not
Mm-hmm.
everybody. That's not
True.
everybody. Not everybody is curious.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was going to even ask a
mm,
question. Something
what's
I've
that?
literally been thinking about since yesterday. So I was listening to this podcast that touched on something I feel like we often hear how it's a mistake to make your partners um to depend your happiness or want them to be. I don't know. I struggle with the word I'm trying to find, but like for that for in terms of like your partner isn't going to always understand the situation. Like me, so there's times that things that happen that your friend will understand
Hmm.
better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's situations where it's also like you cannot like put everything on your partner. Your partner can't
Yes.
have these sorts of happiness. And as much as I agree with that, I think my question is also just like, so what is the how do I put it now? Okay, say for instance that you're somebody who wants certain things, right? Maybe you want to be
Okay.
celebrated with every milestone that you have, whether it's big or small, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe your partner is not necessarily the kind of person that celebrates every single milestone. Like they do celebrate some milestones with you, but there are certain ones where they don't, right? And maybe your friends are the ones celebrating those milestones. So I feel like, and I don't know if I'm phrasing this question right, but it's like, so what makes a partner different from a friend in a sense? You get what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
if there are these things that I care for, but my friends are the ones showing up for me in that way, oh, what's your use?
Mm.
More or less.
You know what? I even want to challenge it by saying that somebody said something. I know this is maybe not mean be in the same context that if
Mm-hmm.
we waste too much time trying to understand, people will die. Yeah. If we waste too much time trying to understand before we can be graceful or show people love,
Mm-hmm.
what's the whole point? And
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know if this makes sense, but I think that I don't have to understand everything about you.
Yeah.
If I love to celebrate my birthday, what's the harm in celebrating it with me?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get? What does that take from you? I don't
Mm-hmm.
really understand maybe everything that he would like, but if there are certain things that he likes to celebrate, isn't the art of loving you allowing for those things to happen? Do you
Mm-hmm.
get? Like if you like to celebrate, for example, I know, okay, maybe Valentine's Day, and maybe I don't really fancy it. But what's the like? Isn't my point of loving you
Mm-hmm.
that way? Do you get
No,
it?
I
And
agree. I
I'm not
agree.
saying this is the same for everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that the whole point of love, where it is not about their own love language? It's about the other person, what they like and what they appreciate. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I understand that you don't have to put everything on your partner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the whole point of having community. And I also value that you don't have to tell your partner everything.
Mm-hmm.
For example, things that are not really their business, like you and your, like my best friend's secrets. Those are my best friend's secrets. And
Mm-hmm.
I would think that it's not okay for you to, yeah, to share with me your best friend's secrets. Do you get? It's okay to hold those things, like those things that because you won't know how I will receive it. They are not my friends,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and your friends are not also my friends. Do you get it? Although maybe we may meet, but I also think that It's nuanced, yeah, but I like the idea of not putting everything on my partner, but also I like the idea of if I like something, what's the harm in doing
But-
it with me?
And I think that's the that goes my that's where like my question is also coming from too, right? Because if my
Mhm.
friend is showing up for me in a way that I wish my partner did, where is the line between placing everything on your partner and, you know, wanting your partner to do that thing that I'll show up for you in the way that your friends are showing up for you. Do you get what I'm like? Where is what are the things where like, you know what, it's okay, my partner doesn't show up in this way because I have friends showing up for me in this way, right? It's like is that an okay place to reach where you're like, okay, my partner might not be showing up for me in this way, but it's okay because I do have a community who is showing up for me in this way, right?
Hmm.
And how do you deal with those like conflicting feelings where it's just like where you feel my partner should be doing this. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I get you. I think we are still figuring this thing out though. Because if I'm even thinking that okay, I host podcast and I have events,
Mm-hmm.
I would love my partner there, but I don't think it's necessary for them to always be there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get? Especially where they have a life or they have things going on. The same thing, the same grace I will hope they extend to me that maybe when they are doing their own things, I will be there if I can. Do you get? Do all. But when it's impossible, it's impossible. That's where me, I say. And I think this thing, we're still figuring it out. Because like I see when I told you that standards are conflicting with how I'm evolving as a person. This is
Sure.
what I mean. Hmm. So yes, I would love them to attend my events. I love them to share with me, to even what's going on, just me. But I know it would be unrealistic if I expect them all the time, especially when they have their own things going on. But I think we can find a balance.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this question. As you
Mm-hmm.
said, you do podcasts, you do events, right? Say
Okay.
friends because they know that you're involved with this, they're like, "Oh, okay, Rella, let's get you a mic or I did XYZ for you, things that will facilitate your growth as somebody who has a podcast or this event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are like constantly doing that for you. Or your partner is like here and there they do those things, right? It's like how do you navigate the fact that your friends are constantly showing up for you in this way, whereas your partner does it sometimes? He shows up in that way sometimes.
I'll collect my partner's bank card. I'm teasing. But I think I would mention it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't, I think I'll mention it, but I wouldn't want to compare as well. But I think that if I also would like something, I want to tell you and not feel guilty about telling you. I want to tell you that, see, okay, my friends got me, but I really like something nice from you. And I know some people say you shouldn't tell them, but I really don't agree with that, especially when you're just starting a relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even if as time, I think you should mention what you want. Why? Because we're always changing and we're always evolving.
So,
I would even like it to be an open conversation. I don't know if I'm weird or that's how like right now maybe I feel that I would mention it that I want you to, you know what? I mean, when I don't take your bank card, sha, but I want you to, I don't know, do something for me too. But I think, I think if they love you, cry, they'll know
yes.
what's going on. Yeah. And I think they might offer to do some things or they'll do some things for you.
Mhm.
That's the way I look at it.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like it's not like they don't at all.
Mm.
It's just you find that your friends show up more in this aspect than and again
But my struggle is
situations
if
where
I say showing up more,
Mhm.
does that mean we're comparing?
Okay, that also leads to another question. Is there anything wrong in comparing how your friend versus your partner shows up for you?
I think in a way, yes and no.
Mhm.
Yes and no. Why? Because sometimes I use how I'm being loved at home,
Mhm.
which includes friendship, to
Mhm.
say if this person is actually loving me.
Mhm.
because I know maybe there is different. Yeah, how maybe my family will express love to me may be different, but I think the feelings somehow are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're feeling considered, they will do certain things to make you feel considered,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it might not be the same ways of expressing it. But I
That's
don't know. I don't want to compare. Like, I wouldn't want to compare them, but I think that it's a good yardstick to see maybe what's happening.
mm,
Okay. Because
that's
I can't say all my friends are showing up for me, for my partner,
mm,
zero. That's a lie. Do you
mm.
see? Then
But
that's a
that's
problem.
I guess I'm saying like it's not like a zero, but again, I
Hmm.
guess back to your question of like, so are you comparing them? Right? So I don't know. Again, like I
That's what
guess
I'm
you
saying. I know. I'm not. I don't even have a full answer, but I'm saying yes and no because if if I don't know, if I don't feel even the showing up, yeah, it
mm-hmm.
could be different ways. Oh, and
Mm-hmm.
one thing I hate is, I'm sorry, I'm saying it, but one thing I hate is when people throw money at everything. Money is
Mm.
not everything. Money is important too. Let me be clear. Very,
Please
very important.
send us money. It's very important. We need money.
Thank you. We always need money. But I hate when there's an issue like we're supposed to go out
Mm.
or and then you throw money and use money to you throw money at like at it,
Mm.
or like you feel each time you
Just
can
throw
disappoint
money.
me and pay. Do you
Yeah.
get? Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I hear that. My other question for you is because I see a lot of Twitter on of things on Twitter where people are like, "Oh, this level of thoughtfulness cannot be learned." Do you agree? Do you
Nope.
think that there's certain level of thoughtfulness that is like innate and it's somebody can't learn it?
I think they can. Why? As I'm speaking for myself actually,
Mm-hmm.
because I won't lie. Yeah, there are certain things I'm learning how to express love to my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning and I haven't like I don't have that figured out because everybody has their own love language. I might send cake to Becky and Becky is all excited and very happy. And I might make food for my other friend and she's so excited. Oh, thank you. I really needed this. You get,
Mm-hmm.
and I might give Nana something else and he's, do you get? So
Mm-hmm.
different ways. I think we're always learning, but I think everything can be learned, to be
No, I
honest.
agree with you. I
And
completely agree.
I don't think anybody's perfect. Don't I hate when they say maybe you are born this way, they can't change. No. I think if somebody realizes that, that's why you see, I don't know if you've seen a video where a young man buys a flower and the old man sees that, goes outside to buy a flower for his wife that is
Mm-hmm.
just sitting down there. And like if they see you like something, people are always learning how to love you. That's how I feel. They see
And
you
I
like something
think that is
and the person loves you.
I think that we all have the capability of being thoughtful people. I think the
True.
problem is we are not paying attention. And again, back to being curious because it really is the most random things that also help you to know
Mm-hmm.
about people. Like even the most and sometimes I ask my friends questions and I think that is so random, but it's like this might be random, but it's helping me get an insight into who you are more as a person. It's letting me know,
Exactly.
and the more I know about you, the
But I
more I
have questions.
thoughtful.
I
Go
have
ahead.
a one question about dating.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think there's a perfect date? What do you think about that?
Like an outing?
Yes, like going on a date.
I think so. Like, yeah, why not?
What's the perfect date for you? No, not for you, but what's the perfect date? That's what I'm asking. So I'm not even saying for
Very specific
you,
to
but
the
what's
people
the
involved.
perfect date?
I think it's very specific to the people involved.
Exactly. So for me, I don't think there's a standard for a perfect date. Yeah.
Mhm,
Maybe going to a fancy restaurant hmm,
mhm,
might be ideal for some people.
mhm,
But I hate that maybe dating has been minimized to certain activities.
mhm,
Hmm? And I feel like we could get creative with how we work out, with how we hang out rather. And we don't necessarily always have to dress up and go places before
Sure.
we enjoy each other's company. It doesn't always have to be a dinner date. It could
Mm-hmm.
be any single thing. And like you said, you see this curiosity thing, a lot of men are not curious.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it takes too much effort to get to hang out with somebody. And that's why they are not learning. That's why I think, from my perspective. Because anything, it's all about experiencing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you see, yeah, maybe some of them may be struggling with the standards of dating, but that's also knowing that you are not learning from who is in front of you, or
Yeah.
learning or being curious about the person in front of you. Because maybe Ivy likes to go to specific places
Mm-hmm.
that Cindy might not like to go, or
Exactly.
Cindy likes to go, or Cindy will enjoy something different from maybe what Ivy likes.
Yeah.
We all like food, but it doesn't always have to be.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
like food, but it necessarily doesn't have to be like a specific setting or something. Do you get?
Yeah, I
It's
agree
about
with
experiencing each other.
you. I agree with you.
So, do you have
Yeah.
any more questions?
I think that's it. I mean, there is a random question. I've decided to write a random questions that come to my mind. This doesn't really have to do with love, but I
Okay.
think that I was just thinking of how much of like there are situations because I am a very anxious person. I tend to get anxious. I think. So I
Hmm.
think I was just thinking of what. How do you know what situations are like your anxiousness is simply because you're an anxious person or is trauma based, you know? Like it just makes me wonder, like, how do I know, like in this instance, anxious, like my anxiety is coming from a place of trauma, or I'm just anxious because I'm an anxious person.
Okay. So, first of all, let me tell you something that I don't do is I don't say I am an anxious person.
Okay.
Why? Because it's the same thing with I am. Like when people say I am, mm,
Mm-hmm.
it tends to be who they become. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get? I do feel anxious a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? So for me, it's a feeling. It's not I am. That's I'm telling you because I used to say I am, so I decided to change up the language. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, just like you have expressed, I do feel anxious a lot. But I think what happens is questioning that curiosity
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. Why do I feel anxious? Not
Mm-hmm.
even why am I anxious? Because I think when I say feel, it allows me open up to experiencing other feelings. Because
Mm-hmm.
I could feel anxious and still feel safe. I don't know if that makes sense. I
No,
could
okay.
feel safe in my environment,
Mm-hmm.
but I could feel anxious about something.
Yeah.
I could feel anxious that, oh, I just put out a new podcast episode. Anything can really trigger that
Yeah.
anxiety. What I
Yeah.
do is to start questioning it. I honestly feel it, yes, I recognize I'm feeling anxious. Like this is the conversation I'm having with myself. I recognize I'm feeling anxious. But why am I feeling anxious in this moment? And then I start to mention it out. That's what I do. And if I can't mention it, I just think about it or I write about it. And then it helps you get to the root of it. And for me, sometimes, like I told you, what triggered the very first like feeling of anxiety when I started connecting with somebody, I started to question it that is this really what this person meant, or is this past experiences that feel similar? And it was past experiences that felt similar. I could recognize something that happened before, and hearing somebody say the same thing triggered me feeling anxious. So in that moment, and I started saying, okay, I feel anxious and that's okay. But this is not the same thing. And that's what happened. And it's not, see, this happens randomly, especially when maybe you are from an environment where you've been surviving with a lot of fear and then you are shifting into a safe environment. It doesn't mean that that anxiety is going to disappear. There are moments that are going to get triggered. But I feel that when we get curious with it, we never experience it the same way again, especially maybe from that particular stance or situation.
Yeah. No, that's
Does that
fair.
make sense?
That does
Mm.
make sense. Definitely makes sense. Thank you.
But it helps. Like I listen to like you, we are big podcast listeners. So I
Mm.
listen to different people when they talk about anxiety and all. And people that talk about I am versus I feel, they say that a lot. It's like you telling when you know the feelings real thing that they
No,
do.
that's
You
sure.
could yes, you could even use that feelings real to get to the root feeling of that anxiety. It
I
helps. I
think
don't know,
also
it
like
helps me.
labeling yourself. Like labeling is very, very important actually, because sometimes labeling yourself as a thing might make it hard to come out of that thing.
Mhm. Exactly. I wrote about this like yesterday. I'm like, I don't like when people try to, you see the thing they do, anxious attachment and sick. I don't really like it. Why? Because it makes me feel like you are making, maybe saying somebody is one thing. It makes no sense to me. Because my relationship with Ivy, I
Mm-hmm.
could feel very secure. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get? And maybe because I'm romantically open to this person,
Mm-hmm.
because of past experiences, I'm feeling anxious, but not
That's
all the time.
that's
Hmm?
true. Our
They will
attachment
do
styles
certain.
per person.
Sorry.
I said that's true. Our attachment styles can differ depending on who
Yeah,
we're
and
with.
to be honest, and I feel like me, I say I have multiple. When people ask me which one, I say I have all of them. I say I have all of them because for some people, I could act detached towards them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like some people though, like I don't feel anything for some people. But maybe with my parents I feel secure, or with my friends. There are said maybe even getting to know some people, even at
Mm-hmm.
work, yeah. Getting to
Yeah.
know some people earlier on. You could feel anxious about the whole till you settle in or till you learn to trust the person. So I think it's always allowing ourselves to evolve in relationships. So I really don't like because someone labeled me anxious. I said I'm not. I don't label me that. Don't do that because for some people, I'm very secure. Do you get? But because I'm getting to know this person, and maybe they bring out maybe a certain level of vulnerability in me, I
Yeah.
will feel anxious because I'm trading on unfamiliar roads or
Yeah.
uncomfortable waters. Exactly. So whenever they do that, I'm like, nah, I'm all of them. Don't label me. The same thing
That's
I said about maybe ADHD or depression. I don't like when people say I'm depressed. You're not. You're experiencing it. I've been through depression, so I am not depressed. You get? Sometimes, even when we experience periods as ladies, sometimes you could you could feel that depression thing that comes with period, and it passes.
true.
So you don't become it, kind of. Even with when people say, "Oh, they have ADHD," I'm like, okay. Me, there are some things that if you look at me, you could consider that okay, I have traits of that,
Yeah.
but I'll never say that I have this. Do you get? There are
Um,
certain I feel,
I, I think at the same
and I
time,
feel people use it to justify and never improve themselves too.
okay, that's fair. But I was even going to
Yep.
say there are times where sometimes understanding how your brain chemistry works and understand having a name for things helps you navigate it.
But Ivy, that's very important. That's what I mean. It's very important. But have you heard people say my ADHD, my anxiety, my depression? I ask them, does it belong to you? It doesn't belong to you. Why are you trying to own it? Yes, it's like using the names, yes, to understand, but you don't become it. And for
That's
me, I feel that's why I said sometimes labels can be limiting, whereby, yes, I feel sad, I am not sad. And in the next moment, I'm going to feel happy. And that's what happens in a day. I could feel different things, but I am neither any of them. I'm just Cindy experiencing life.
fair. That's in regards to even experiencing life and sorry relationships. I think one thing I've also learned is to be comfortable with the ebbs and the flows that comes in my relationships with people.
Yep.
Because you find that sometimes even friends that you're close to or even like a partner, sometimes you go through periods where it almost feels like you're disconnected in a sense, but just learning to
Mm-hmm.
panicking, just like, learn to be comfortable
You
moving
know,
with the flows.
true. You know, the moments where I feel disconnected, yeah, I kind of like remind myself that sometimes disconnection is part of the whole experience in a connection.
Mm-hmm.
You're not always going to feel the same way all the time.
True.
That's how I look at it. You're not always going to only be happy. If you are only always happy, that's it. Somebody's lying. Like you, when I mean happy, I mean if you're always peaceful, you're not in no disagreement. Ah,
Yeah.
do you guess? Somebody is people pleasing. Yeah, somebody is not being honest with what they want because it's not always I want to drink Fanta or I don't drink Fanta. I'm just an example. It's not always I want to drink tea. We are always, you see, the ebbs and the flows. We're always evolving, sort of.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this has been lovely. I'm looking forward to many more conversations. And like this is my
Yep.
favorite thing to talk about. Like just constant. Like I keep telling people how like I'm so excited for the day I can like therapy can become such a normal thing in my life because the idea that I
Hmm.
get to learn and know myself better, like sign me up. Like sign me up.
True. Like I'm very excited. You should see me with like I'm so fascinated about it. Thereby, it's like understanding our complexities. Yeah,
Yeah.
understanding us in layers. That even me as a person, there are certain aspects to me that maybe I haven't even discovered or I'm still uncovering. Kind of, it's interesting. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I even have like I have this. I don't know if you've seen the and game where these games are like foster connections. Every time I see them,
Okay.
I have one on dating, relationships, sorry, on dating couples,
Ah,
friendship.
those card games
I'm trying to get
for asking
one.
questions.
Yes, I'm trying to
I
get the one
like
that's
them. I want to get some.
for
Mm.
strangers. I have we're not really
Okay.
strangers as well. Like I'm just like I'm obsessed. Like,
I like
like
them. Because see, starting conversations sometimes can be awkward. But last year I challenged myself and I did it. Just randomly, just meeting people. I'm like, there was a time I went to like deliver stuff I had baked to customers anyway. And I started randomly talking to somebody in a coffee shop. And he was kind of like surprised. And we're cool. It didn't go past that. And I like that you can just meet strangers and ask them, oh, what do you do? And then he gave me a very nice tip for my business because he was in finance. And I met another girl. She was studying maths and statistics in school. It was interesting to meet them. And I like that those games kind of like breach that awkwardness when it comes to talking to people.
yeah.
Or maybe having uncomfortable conversations with your friends and your partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very exciting for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that we could do this and chat. I know it was about love, but then we talked about other things too, which
Sure.
is interesting. Yeah. And we hope that people, I really hope that people reduce the pressure. Eh?
Mm.
We're actually still figuring it out when it comes to love,
Yeah,
relationships.
truly.
Yeah, I think I like, and to be honest, I like the idea that we're still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we get to learn more ways to express love, at least in healthier ways, actually.
Yeah.
So, what are you excited for this year? What are you excited to do?
Like in general,
Yeah, in general.
I made a vision board for the first time ever today.
Okay.
So I am looking forward to just seeing myself achieve a huge percentage, like if not all, a huge percentage of the things on there. So I'm very
Okay.
excited about obviously learning and growing as a person to even in regards to love, to my relationships, and just being the person I know I'm capable of being. I'm really, really looking forward to that, and I believe it's going to be a great year. and I'm very optimistic about the year. So, yeah. How about you?
Well, so I think you made a vision board.
Mm,
For me, I actually, should I say I planned out my year? Let me not say I listed things that I really wanted to do this year. Maybe let me say an action board or vision list or action list. And yes, maybe I have broken down twice.
mm,
But I like the redirection because even this last one made me stop and say, you know what? This thing I wanted to do doesn't really align. And maybe I was doing it to impress. But it brought me back to the core reason why I wanted to even do this podcast or build community with it as well. But I look forward to doing everything I have on that list and the unplanned things too, the
mm.
exciting ones that involve
Come
love
along
as
with you.
well. Yep.
I'm
I
rooting
am
for
excited. I'm waiting for you too. Yep. Anyway, thank you for coming
you. Of
to
course.
talk plenty with me
Thank you.
about
It's
love.
it's not that like there's stuff I actually have to do. Like I could go on and on.
No, I
But
feel you. Me too.
you,
But
this has been
anyway, it was
always,
fun.
always lovely hearing your insight and your perspective in regards to love
Yep. I know we plan to do this more actually, like quarterly,
um,
right?
yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited to see what we would have learned and insights we'll have the next time we'll have this conversation.
Yes, me too. Anyway, thank you.
Of course, I look
Bye.
forward to listening back when it drops.
Mm-hmm. Yup, yup, yup. It's coming out before Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Okay, well, yay.
Alright.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Have a lovely rest as you go to bed
You
tonight.
too. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.